approve, then you purchase the truck, and then you apply for reimbursement.
Exactly, because a lot of times grants, and I think I read this in this grant, but I can't be positive, that they will not reimburse, the goods or services that were done prior. So if we bought that, that's not really good faith that we needed this vehicle to enter into the shared service agreement with the county.
Which means it compromises our ability to be able to be awarded.
I think so. I mean, that's
Any
probably,
money.
to check that out with Rick and Frank, but that's how I know grants typically to be.
That is a very interesting twist. That is a very, very interesting twist because it means we have to forestall our plan to buy a truck at the end of this year anyway, until we've made up our mind about the grant and until and unless we've been granted the grant. So there's every chance we could go through next winter season with nothing other than the 2 trucks that we have now.
It's possible, but I mean, I think if you submit the grant quickly and it gets approved quickly, I mean, there are already grants through this program that were approved for other municipalities. So it just depends how long our process is. And I think it said maybe July 20th, something around that date, that all applications for this grant would need to be in. So I don't know
June
how long
30th.
it's been approved after that. What's that?
It's June 30th.
Okay, June 30th. Right, so I don't know how long it takes them to approve, but it does say first come, first served basis. So, I guess it just depends.
So you're under,
It's clear that if we want to have the capacity to reliably and dependably plow the secondary streets in Estell Manor on behalf of our residents, timing is going to be very, very important because if they're not going to wait to consider them until they're all in June 30th, it sounds like they're not going to have a bunch of answers, maybe late in July or August, something like that. And Mr. Moore cares no more about this than I do, but it sounds like if we wait until July or August to order ourselves a truck, we may not be able to get one for next winter.
I agree.
Mr. Dilge, there's also leftover vehicles that are out there in which they give them they probably give them even cheaper than the price of state contract. And by the way, I've been told this by a variety of mayors. I've been told this by Mr. Moore. I've heard this from previous solicitors. It's not like it's a secret. State contract is not necessarily the cheapest way to go. I mean, when you do buy a vehicle off the lot, obviously we have to put an RFP out there to do this, but nonetheless, we can in fact still buy a vehicle off the lot, and we don't have to worry about being jackpotted where we've waited too long. There's always vehicles that are available, and the dealership is always looking to get rid of them. They're not in love with them or they want to hold on to them for eternity. That's what they're in business for, is to sell trucks. And they always have an inventory of vehicles because Estell Manor is not the only show in town. There's always people looking to buy these vehicles. We're not looking to get a 750 or an 850. A 450 is a very, very common vehicle to have on a parking lot. As a matter of fact, I rode by General Lee Ford just a couple days back. I had to take a look at a job out that way there. Guess what? They had a 450 out on the lot.
But it sounds to me like this grant can be approved before June 30th too. And Mr. Moore, when would be the latest you recommend buying a truck if we're going to go through state contract?
Well, I would say by midsummer, but keep our fingers crossed if we can get it by December.
If we definitely wanted it for next snow season, what would be the latest month you recommend proceeding with that? May?
I would say no later than April.
Okay.
First of May, the first meeting in May at the very latest.
So I think we've actually covered all the parameters for the most part. I mean, there's no obligation. There's a motion. There's a second. I'd like to ask for a roll call on this, please.
Okay, Mr. Dilch.
Please speak again, clarify what we're voting. There's been a lot of discussion. Please clarify what we're voting.
We're voting to move forward with resolution
43-20.
To make the grant application.
Yes.
I vote yes.
Mr. Elston,
Yes.
Ms. Owen,
Yes.
Mr. Parks,
Yes.
Mayor Vinesia.
Of course. Thank you, guys. Please, let's all work together on this here and try to figure out a way of how this is gonna work for us rather than trying to figure out a way of how it's not gonna work. I mean, I really hope that we could all be positive with this one here. I've got a very good feeling with it. I don't wanna see this just get compromised. I really don't.
My only problem that I have with it is I'm left with confusion. I mean, when we talk about trucks, you keep saying 450, 550, 650, 350. And then we talk one truck, two truck, definitely getting two trucks. That's where I'm lost, because I'm like with Mrs. Owens, I need to know what is it? Like, what is it that we're getting? And do we have to put bids in for these things?
If it's
That's
gonna
where
be,
my
if it's
confusion
gonna be a
lies. I
state
just
contract.
don't, we're talking about a bunch of things, and I don't know what exactly it is.
I'm trying to explain to you, if it's gonna be a state contract truck, no, it doesn't have to go to bid. If it's gonna be a vehicle that we're looking to buy off of a lot, then yes, it's gotta go, we gotta put together an RFP. So that multiple dealerships have the, chance to, bid on the vehicle. And quite frankly, we may even get a better deal by doing it that way. It's really never known until you try. Let's move down to the
I
next.
just wish we could
really
have
had
got
lot
like a
of
settlement on
conversation.
at least of what size truck it was. Like a 350. Like I was just up at the Poconos and they did their mountains and they cleared the roads very fast. And I paid attention to their trucks and there was one actually that was on the place that they used a 250. And then another one on the streets they used a 350. And they just had these huge barriers that were on the back of it that held the salt and then the plow in front. And they worked just beautifully. And that's what I'm saying. I just don't know where we're at. Everything just seems
I'm shooting for a 550. It holds more weight. Mr. Moore says that they're not under state contract, but they certainly are very readily available. And if they have a glut of them on their parking lots, we probably could even get a better deal for a 550 for less money than the state contract 450. So when we get to that point, we'll certainly make a careful decision with it. I don't want to just simply rush into buying any old vehicle. I certainly want to make sure that we get the best vehicle that's going to last us a long time. Moving down to the next item here.
Okay, 44-2020, that Mr. Lafferty said,
Yeah.
something about the planning board resolution.
Yes, Mayor, by title, Resolution 44-2021, it's a resolution referring ordinance 1-2021 to the planning board for review pursuant to NJSA 40:55D-26. As Mr. DeLucre explained, the process is that the ordinance needs to be sent to the planning board for review to make sure it's consistent with the master plan. So this is a perfunctory resolution accomplishing that requirement.
I make the necessary motion to support resolution 44. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
While we're talking about the planning board, I have been derelict in making this statement, but I want it to be known, we have a new chairman to our planning board. I believe that young Walter Dilge is probably the youngest person that is a chairman of a regulatory board. I am extremely proud. And Nelson, you must be even more proud, but you got one hell of a damn good kid. I love that kid to death. He's a smart boy. He seems to be driven with motivation. He really wants to do a good job with this planning board. And, you know, he's a young kid. And when we have a bunch of us old guys that support him as our chairperson, that really says volumes. But the last couple meetings that we've had, young Walter has done a spectacular job for somebody who's never done this before. So I'm very proud of him, and I see him going places, and we all wish him the best.
Thank you. Village House is very pleased. Thank you.
Sorry, what was that?
Everyone at the Dilge House is very pleased, very proud. Thank you.
You should
Nelson,
be.
he's one hell of a good boy. I really like him a lot. He's gold to you, I'm sure.
Thank
you. Okay.
Takes
down
after
to
his
the-
mother.
Well, I didn't want to say that, but Pete, you did. You're right. you're right on that one there, thank you. Okay, we need to laugh at this table here a lot more often, so maybe we'll, continue with more. Maybe towards the end of the meeting, I'm gonna tell you about a very strange occurrence that I've had with a particular person who's been calling me, but we'll wait until the end of the meeting. You may like this one. Moving down to, department reports, I apologize, but I did not receive not a one. This is another item that we're got to table.
Not necessarily, Mayor, because they're in your packet here.
Well, I'm just getting this right at the moment, so we're gonna, I prefer that we just simply table all these here.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Old business landfill discussion, I think we've beaten up the landfill pretty much. Ms. Blumenthal, I believe you're still on the, line here. We have something about the volunteer fire program. Could you, give a little preview about that, please? I know you put some time into that, and I believe it's certainly a very worthwhile program to, move forward with.
Right, okay, I sent out a memo, I think back in December, just summarizing the program, and I think you also received the details of that program. It's something that is organized under the state DCA, and it covers volunteers in both fire and EMS volunteer organizations. And what it allows for is each volunteer is able to receive tuition credits for the amount of $600 per year, up to $2,400 over a total of 4 years. And this is for basic learning in our community college or vocational schools or technical institutes, things of that nature. And it not only applies to them, but it also applies to their spouses and their dependent children. So there's no money out of the pocket by the city. What the city would need to do is adopt a resolution, and then they submit the paperwork to the, let's say, suppose Atlantic Community College, and then up to the DCA. And once it's approved, it's just paperwork that goes from the state to the community college and allows these volunteers to go into these classes, $600 per year, tuition free to them, and no cost out of our pockets either. Trying to think what else. The only downfall really is that if there's not enough paying students in the class could be canceled, things of that nature. They do recommend that the volunteers that would like to participate try to get their elective classes, rather than the core. That way they have a little bit more flexibility. And what's also nice is if you have a volunteer in, let's say, Estell Manor Fire, and they're also a volunteer in another community's EMS, they can apply for this program under each organization as long as the municipality in that organization has this resolution. And it's a good incentive to entice some volunteers. There might be one or a few people in town even that might want to take advantage of this.
I would like to make a motion to have, Randy prepare a resolution so that way there we can, move forward with this program here.
Second.
I think Ms. Blumenthal made a very clear presentation of what we're doing here. If anybody has any questions or whatever, that's fine. If not, I'd like to, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
I'll have that prepared for the next meeting, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Lafferty. I do want to say this. We have got to do everything. This is not an Estell Manor problem. This is a statewide problem. But if the state continues to keep on putting all of these regulations on our fire company, personnel, whether you're aware of it or not, just to be firefighter one is 120 hours of training. To become firefighter two is 180 hours. That's a lot of time. A lot of time going back and forth. These guys, they don't get paid for it. They're doing it for the love of what they want to do and for the camaraderie of working together to protect lives. But we have got to come up with something. This is a start, but this is a very serious problem. It's actually, from my understanding, it's going nationwide. If we lose volunteers and we're no longer able to have a volunteer organization, I mean, we see what has happened with the certifications that are required to run a rescue squad now. It's just, the state's getting worse and worse and worse with these mandates that they're doing to us. So we have to be very creative and figure out if there's anything else that we may be able to do to entice membership. That's all I want to say on that one there. The I'm holding off on the animal ordinance. The animal hoarding ordinance. I would like to have Judd, can you send an email with our city letterhead to I think her name is Linda Gentile from Sure Animal Control. Send her an email and inviting her to our next workshop meeting, which is, I guess I wanted to say that, you know, as we're starting to realize here, we having meetings that are long, lengthy, there's a lot of conversation per topic. I think being able to nip some of this in the bud, we probably really should have a workshop meeting where we just simply discuss issues, and that way there, when we come to the table, bing, bang, boom, we can just start voting without getting into lengthy shootouts. So, at any rate, please send her an email.
I'll probably just call her because I know.
But just send her some correspondence as well. Do both if you'd like to. But this is something that, you know, she brought to my attention. I would rather her make the presentation, but I think we all know that we do have some issues going on in town where pretty bad. We have another one here, moving down on item number 2 under new business. This is gonna have to be a closed door session. And once again, when we have a workshop, we're gonna need to go in closed session with Wayne and with our tax assessor. Randy's brought something to my attention. I was not aware, but nonetheless, we all need to be aware. And I think we're gonna really need to discuss this in closed session, as this could be a significant matter that could get out of control on us. So, number 2, we're gonna hold. Number 3. Number 3, repair of gravel roads. We have 2 roads that are actually in need of some serious repair. I'm gonna, I spoke to Mr. Cornu, and we have 7th Avenue West, that horrendous dirt portion that's all washed out all the time. We need to repack that with some DGA material. Mrs. Faith has been extremely patient. Anybody who wants to ride down that road and see what I'm talking about, it's the same. She's got a section of it that just, you can't hold gravel in it. It just always washes out. She doesn't have a very large portion, but nonetheless, that's got to be done with DGA material as well. She's not asking to have it asphalted. She's not asking to have it oiled stone. She just simply wants to have it so she doesn't knock out the front end of her vehicles anymore. And I think it's probably, I don't know, maybe a $300 purchase to buy a tandem load of DGA material, and that should be enough to cover both roads. So I just want the council to be aware that we'll be coming up on a bill. We do need to take care of these roads for these people. Next, we have gov deals to sell the pavers and the bucket truck. There's another item. I did talk to Jeff. He's going to get back to me on it. I spoke to him just as of yesterday, and I think I spoke to him on Thursday, Friday, whatever it was. But we have a blade. I guess council is aware that when we sold our GI Joe truck, for some strange, crazy reason, they didn't want the blade. Okay, so we keep the blade. Now we need to sell that. We have no use for it. Jeff's going to look up what the value of it is, but I think it's several $1,000s, and it's literally almost brand new. It's got very little use on it, so somewhere along the line, somebody's going to need that blade, but obviously it's not us because we no longer have that vehicle. So, Judd will be back in a moment, but he had to take a walk for a second. He'll be right back though. The selling of the pavers, can anybody refresh my memory? What did we say? Because I think that I have seen that those bricks go for like $2 a piece, $2.50 a piece. I think we could actually get like $500 a pallet. We have 8 pallets that are out there. The last time I think it was a discussionable item of $1,200 was the Judd, do you recall what it was? Now you're back.
It may have been 1,200, but when I talked to gov deals, I believe all we could get out of there was like $800, like $200 a pallet.
Okay, well, are we mandated to have to, price what Gov Deals tells us to do?
No, we tell them what to do.
We tell them what to do. I mean, it's our property, so,
Property, you can do whatever you wanna do.
okay.
I mean, we can have a minimal bid of, say, $300 or $400 a pallet, and if we don't meet it, then we go with the low one who wants to offer something.
And we have 8 pallets out in the, city yard there, and they're full pallets. It's not like they're just somewhat of a pallet. They're pretty full. We may even have more bricks on there than what you get in a pallet load, but
Well, what would the minimal that you wanna see? Cause I don't know what they're worth.
well, let's just put it this way. If there's 800 bricks, my memory, so I'd have to go back out there and count it. It's been a couple months, but there's several hundred brick per pallet. And there's the same amount of brick per pallet.
About 350 maybe.
Let me go back out over there and recount them again, and I'll look up the price, but I have seen them. As a matter of fact, I think Teresa gave us a printout on it. We all received that, and they were like $3 a piece, now that I recall.
Alright, so between the pavers, the bucket truck, and we wanna sell snowplow, let's come to some type of agreement and then have a motion that council, whatever, like say we decide to do is okay and move forward. They give us some parameters.
Well, we already did vote to put this stuff on Gov Deals. I'm trying to understand and remember, how did it get hung up where we don't have this listed yet?
I believe the person who wanted it was from Violent and they backed out.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
And that was for what, the bucket truck?
No, the pavers.
The pavers. And what happened to the bucket truck? I mean, we voted on that last year.
Yes, someone bid like $3,500, 35 or $3,750, something like that. But you had said
3521.
3521, and you had said that someone locally was gonna offer 5,500, so we told them that we weren't gonna get through with that.
Yeah, I mean, I got that from several different sources. Both the public works people said that somebody pulled in over there, said, I'll give you $5,500 right on the spot for this stuff. They want it for the motor. So I don't know what happened why it didn't get sold, but, you know, maybe we could even, Randy, would we be permitted to contact that person to let them know we're putting it on Gov Deals? Is that allowable or no?
No, that's allowable.
Yeah, you tell anybody,
You can tell anybody, is right.
it's advertised. It's good to tell local people because they don't know about Gov Deals. And you can say, hey, by the way, we're selling this truck, go to this website and you can see it.
Okay. All right, so I'll notify them, and, we'll go from there. Once again, I have a feeling that this sand and gravel ordinance change is gonna be a rather very, very lengthy conversation. We're pushing 9 o'clock. We're gonna need to go into close, so I would like to have this as a workshop discussion as well. We need to iron out exactly what we are doing here. We've waited all this time. I don't think another week or two where we have our workshop meeting is gonna matter all that much of a difference at this point. We have number 6, Fralinger proposal for the Maple Avenue resurfacing. We,
I have that, Mayor. This proposal was $27,500 to do the survey, design, and bidding, which is under the percentage that they usually do. This grant is $230,170, and it came out to be like the percentage was 11.94%. The state says that they allow for 15% of the grant for this type of work. And the construction inspection, that comes out of the grant and is reimbursable by the grant. So my recommendation is make a motion to approve this contract.
I'd make a motion that we approve the contract for Fralinger in the amount of $27,500. Is there a second?
Second.
You know, Matt, I don't know what it is, but you're moving all over on the screen. You're to the left, you're to the right, to the center. It's like every time I look, I take my eyes off and then you're in another location. So you're quick.
Roll call.
There's a motion and a second. Do we have a roll call?
Yeah, Mr. Dilch,
Yes.
Mr. Olson,
Yes.
Ms. Owen,
Yes.
Ms. Sparks. Sparks,
He's trying.
oh, okay.
You're on mute. Julie, you're on mute.
I got it.
All right, that was a yes.
Mayor Vineski.
Yes. I would like to bring something up. I don't know if council is aware or not, but we did have a little bit of some snow that had to be taken care of. Not a lot, not a big deal. But I'm gonna tell you right now that, the people that we were reaching out to, if they would be available, guys, $15 an hour is no longer cutting the mustard. You cannot expect people to come out into the middle of the night or to come out onto a weekend or whatever the case may be for $15 an hour. You can get a job flipping a hamburger for $15 an hour. You could be a Walmart checker for $15 an hour. I mean, it's now the minimum wage. We can't pay a minimum wage for somebody who is providing emergency services that is for the public safety of our community. We're at such an outdated figure. We have to move forward.
I don't know if you heard this, they did not approve that $15 minimum wage, Mr. Biden.
But I believe that Mr. Corzine did. Not Corzine, Mr. Murphy.
I don't
The
believe
legislature approved a $15 an hour wage in New Jersey, Ms. Sparks. We have to do it. I mean, we gotta move up.
I agree that if somebody's out there working in the middle of the night, I've always known it to be things like, like the holiday pay, the night pay, the twilight pay, that if they're going out at night, then they should get paid more, like time and a half or whatever. But I mean, if they're out during a Tuesday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I don't, that's not pulling you out of your bed in the middle of the night. That's just my opinion. I just think that if you kept
But they
it,
but they probably also have a job that they go to. And if they could possibly put into their boss or whoever and say, listen,
what I'm saying is like when you're going to ask for it, don't say it like, make it look like it's always in the middle of the night. You're pulling these people out of bed to go do the job.
a lot of times it's during the day, but I mean, if we start getting piled up with work, I mean, when our public works guys go out, they get paid time and a half. All right? We're not having as powerful snowstorms, although I certainly don't ever want to relive 2010 and 2011, but if you guys remember that, we were getting feet of snow. Not inches, but feet. I think one time we had 23 inches, which is basically 2 foot of snow. And our city was in a real pickle. We had county roads that weren't plowed. They were busy in other parts of the county. We had some of our roads that, it just takes time to do it. So, I mean, and to have emergency help, I mean, let's face it, guys, I can make a phone call at any given time to a particular person. He'll bring me up to $25, $30 an hour. Why would I want to work for $15 an hour when you can go somewhere else?
Well, the minimum wage is going to be approved, but in 2024.
I would like to be proactive, and it's not like it's an everyday occurrence. It's just simply for when we really need them.
What I'm saying is I'd rather have it at a decent rate. But I think that if they go out in the middle of the night, I think it should be like a twilight hour where like after a certain time, they get paid a little bit more. Just like the graveyard shift at a hospital. If you work the graveyard shift, you get more money. That's where I see it. So instead of just making it roundabout, like, hold on.
Your dog is out of order. I'm going to gavel him.
Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that they shouldn't be paid, but I'm saying instead of making it round figure in case they're out in the middle of the night, I'd rather do it where, let's just say, like if you give them $18 an hour for regular hours and then special hours, give them $20 or $22 an hour. You know what I mean? Like at nighttime or holiday or something like that. That's all I'm saying.
We
I
have
could
lost.
be paid more if they go out in the middle of the night.
We have lost some of the people that are just not going to do it. And
I'm just saying, I think they should get paid more. If it's 2 o'clock in the morning, I think they should get paid more
I would
than the
like
guy
to
on a
just,
Tuesday afternoon.
but Julie, the point of it is this: it's not like that they're going out in the middle of the night; they're going out during the middle of the day. If we need them and they don't go to their other job, and they certainly have permission from their boss because they're needed over here, they'll probably be given the leniency to not come in. The reality is, we've escaped this for way too many years. We cannot allow this to continue. Even $18 an hour is just way too cheap. Like I tell you, I can make a phone call right now, and I know that somebody would hire me for $25 or $30 an hour, to help. And that's not even just plowing, that's like helping to salt down the sidewalks and stuff like that, while he's doing the parking lot, because I've done this in the past. I'm telling you, it's hard to get help. These guys, they need help, and they'll take anybody they can get. And we're very fortunate that we have people that want to do it. We can't push them away and say, do it for us, please, that's great, but oh, by the way, we're not gonna pay it. This is not a volunteer situation, like I said, council.